Hey guys, Apocalypso here, back with another episode of Extreme AI Matchups. And this one is the Koreans versus the Italians. Uh, yeah, so this is on Nomad, which is actually a map that has never appeared on the series before, even though it's uh, the villager got in the way of this guy trying to build a town center. But anyway, so this is actually a map that's never appeared on the series before, even though it's been in the map pool this entire time. It's just all these other maps just got chosen, like all the other maps just kind of got picked before this one, which is I don't know, it's pretty weird. But anyway, so Nomads basically, even though it doesn't look like it, well, actually you can kind of tell, but you don't start with the town center. You have to find a place. Your villagers are scattered. You have to find a place to build a town center. But as you can see, they've already figured out where to put their town center, and he's figured out where to put his. So they're actually pretty far away from each other, which is something that isn't a guarantee in Nomad. You may end up. I know that when I played Nomad, I often end up close to my opponent, which can result in some very interesting games. Anyway, so I'm gonna do the standard thing and talk about these civilization advantages, the the bonuses and stuff. So the Koreans are a defensive and naval civilization. So yeah, so they start their first bonus is that the villagers have +3 line of sight. Now on a map like Nomad, that's very helpful because you don't even you don't start with a scout. You don't have any scouts at all. You only have villagers, and the fact that villagers have better line of sight than a scout is pretty important on Nomad. But it's useful in regular games too because then you can more easily spot resources at the start, and if there are any sheep nearby, you're more likely to be able to see them and possess them rather than have to hunt for them. So the fact that villagers have extra line of sight is that's pretty useful, and they also it's also helpful for raids too. If you're being raided, you can more easily spot when the enemy's coming if the villagers have farther sight. So that's another useful application for it. So then the next bonus is that stone miners mine 20% faster. I believe that's what it says. Yes, 20% faster. Uh, so basically, how that is helpful is they are a defensive civilization, so they're gonna need a lot of stone in order to do anything. And the fact that you mine the stone faster means it's gonna be easier to do something with that stone. Um, and especially goes well with the next bonus, which is that tower upgrades are free, while the bombard tower requires the what requires chemistry. Now, I believe the bombard tower is the only gunpowder unit technically. It's not really a unit, but it's the same thing, but it's along the same lines. But it's the only gunpowder unit that still requires a separate technology to actually access to actually unlock. Um, Back in Age of Kings, hand cannoneers required. Um, I think hand cannoneers and bombard cannons required special technologies in order to unlock them. I think those were removed in the Conquerors, but cannon galleons still require technologies. But in DE, in a patch, they actually removed that requirement. So now bombard towers are the only towers in the game that require technology still to access. But the Koreans circumvent that completely. So that's a helpful bonus. And as I said, it goes well with faster stone mining bonus because they do have all the way up to keep, and they have arrow slits, which increases the attack of towers. Um, so that's those two bonuses really tie together very well, and so then this next one is that archer armor upgrades are free. So that's actually really helpful because basically what it means is that um, you don't have to pay for those technologies. You just get them for free at the beginning of each age. Uh, so that's very good for an archer rush, I must say. And they do have arbalesters, and they do have ring archer armor and bracer. Do they have thumb ring? I believe they have thumb ring. Yes, they have thumb ring. So they have fully upgraded archers, and they have hand cannoneers, which I believe the archer armor applies to. So they have heavy cavalry archers, so they have good archer options. They don't have Parthian tactics, but still, they have good archer options, and the free archer armor upgrades just help solidify that. So then their next bonus is that military units, except siege weapons, cost uh, minus 20% wood. So I believe that applies to the war wagon. So which is their unique unit. So the war wagon costs 100 food, 100 wood, and 60 gold normally. But with the discount, I believe that goes down to 80 wood. I believe that's the right math. And it should be noted that the Koreans have some of the best siege in the game. They don't have siege ram, but they do have all the way up to siege onager. Okay, so maybe it's just their siege onagers that are good. Maybe it's just their onager line that's good, but those are very expensive in terms of wood, and Bombardier is even more expensive in terms of wood. So both of those are significantly cheaper. While their other siege options are pretty lacking, uh, their onagers and bombard cans are particularly cheap, which the onager bonus really helps. Uh, is really helped even more by their team bonus, which is that they have reduced minimum range. It's not much. I think it's just minimum range reduction of one. But basically, what it means is that they they can attack units that are closer to them without having to back up, and that's helpful as a bonus uh, because because they don't have to back up as much in order to attack their targets. Now, in Age of Conquerors, Age of which is the Conquerors expansion, uh, they actually had increased they had increased range for their onagers, which was a lot better actually. But they changed that in the Forgotten for some reason. But that's basically what their basically what their team bonus is now. It basically means they just don't have to move around as much to hit their targets, which I guess that's pretty useful, but still it's pretty underwhelming compared to the old one. But anyway, so their unique unit, where is it? It's around here somewhere. There we go. I alluded to it earlier. The unique unit is the War Wagon, not to be confused with the Hussite Wagon, which this unit was actually originally supposed to be because the Bohemians were supposed to be added in the Conquerors, but then the Koreans were included instead for business reasons, and then the Bohemian unique unit presumably got moved to the Koreans for some reason. But anyway, so it is a Korean unique cavalry archer unit. Strong versus infantry and archers. Weak versus pikemen, skirmishers, and camel riders. Now, the thing about uh, the thing about war wagons is that they are Extremely hardy. Now they're very expensive, but they're extremely hardy. They're hard to kill. Regular war wagons have 150 HP, and elite war wagons have 200 HP. So they're not quite as tanky as like elephant units, but they're still pretty tanky. They're very, very strong against ranged units as well because they have 3 pierce armor and 4 pierce armor respectively, uh, normal and elite. So they're very strong against ranged units. Of course, they're pretty bad against melee units, but that's pretty understandable. Even with their even with their high HP, they don't have any melee armor at all. But they have a pretty high attack for archer units. It doesn't upgrade. It doesn't change at all. Their attack doesn't increase with the elite upgrade. But as I said, they do have higher HP, so they're going to be able to last even longer. So the point is, the War Wagon is a very good archer unit. It gives you a lot of population value. You don't have to create as many of them to have the same effect as a bunch of archers for any other civilization. So their other unique unit is the turtle ship. The Korean unique unit, slow and ironclad, strong versus warships and buildings. Um, yeah. So is a similar concept as the turtle ship actually, or yeah, that is the turtle ship. It's a similar concept to the war wagon actually. Um, it's also kind of similar to the Thericidae with the Dravidians, but they're actually heavier, and I believe they're even stronger. So they have an attack of 50. Holy cow, that's a lot. Uh, the war galley, like war galley has only 7. The turtle ship has 50 attack. So and it's 200 HP for the elite or regular, and then 300 for the elite. So like the war wagon, they're extremely population efficient. That seems to be kind of a theme for the Koreans. Heavy population efficient units. Um, so they're now the thing is they're very close range. Um, they only have 6 range, which isn't a lot. It's the same as the galleon actually. I don't think it. I don't think it. I don't think it's increased by upgrades though, so it's probably gonna always remain at 6. Because it is a gunpowder unit, so I don't think it increases. But anyway, so the point is, they are very strong against ships. And it's very hard to take them out. So they're a lot like the War Wagon in many respects. So they're pretty comparable. Anyway, so the unique texts are the first one is Yupseong. I probably totally butchered that. So watchtowers, guard towers, and keeps have +2 range. Now that used to be something called Pinoxion, which is an upgrade that made turtle ships faster, but they've removed that and instead made Pinoxion inherent to the elite upgrade. So now elite turtle ships are faster than non-elite turtle ships, which is pretty nice. Uh, yeah, so they got a new unique tech, one of the previous patches for DE. So obviously it fits their theme of a tower civilization because they're able to more easily, uh, well, they have more range, so they're able to more easily defend, and they're able to keep enemy units in their range longer if the enemies are fleeing. And of course that stacks with fletching, Bodkin, and Bracer. So they end up having quite a lot of range in the end, which is very good for they're very good tower rushing civilization. Although not as good as they used to be because they used to have a faster fortification construction speed, but they changed that to sort of make them more of an archer civilization as well. So, but this still obviously makes them a good tower civilization. So then the next one, Shin-Kachon, is mangonels, onagers, and siege onagers have +1 range. Um, when stacked with their team bonus, they ended up having, I think, 12 range, or maybe it was 9 range. Yeah, I think it was 9 range. 12 range is a lot. 9 range, which was, that was a lot, actually. It was utterly insane, but now they only have 8 range at most, because they do also have siege engineers. Um, yeah, they have siege engineers, so they're one of the few civilizations to have every single university technology. Yeah, so their their onagers are pretty insane in terms of range, and basically exactly what it says. Now I believe both of these unique technologies. Actually, Yipseong is pretty expensive or pretty cheap, but Shinkichan is very expensive in terms of wood. So you might want to use those wood savings from that unit bonus, the unit discount, to go towards towards this unique tech, because definitely need it. And oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Apparently the wood discount doesn't apply to siege weapons, so they're still going to be very expensive. So definitely in terms of war wagons and um, turtle ships, they're going to be more discounted. I believe it applies to them. So you're going to want to use the wood savings from those to invest into Shinkichan, even though you can't get the savings for the siege units. So my bad, but I just noticed that. But time to move on to the Italians now. So for the Italians, it says they are an archer and naval civilization. So they have a similar specialty to the Koreans. They have very similar archer tech tree. They have arbalister, hand cannoneer, thumb ring. They don't have heavy cavalry archer, but they do have ring archer armor and bracers. So they have very similar archer options to the Koreans. And of course, they're also a naval civilization. So if we end up seeing a naval combat, that'll be interesting to see the two of them compete. Yeah. Advancing to the next age costs -15%. Now, obviously, that's helpful because you can't do a whole lot unless you advance to the next age. So it's cheaper and easier to get there, and it's pretty straightforward actually. It allows you to advance probably a few minutes earlier than your opponents, so that can be helpful for rushes. So then the next one is that docks and university technology. Dock and university technologies cost -33%. Now I believe this only applied to dock technologies, but that is pretty limited. So I think that's probably why they made it apply to university techs as well. So you get gill nets, careening, dry dock, shipwright, all those for cheaper, and I'm not sure if that applies to unit upgrades. It might. So then you get all of these. They basically have the same university tech tree as the Koreans, except for the lack of siege onagers or siege engineers. Excuse me. So they get all those for cheaper as well, which is obviously pretty massive savings. That's pretty good. And a lot of their best stuff relies on important university technologies or dock technologies. So the fact they get it for cheaper is a lot. It's a lot more convenient for everybody playing the Italians, I'd say. Okay, so their next one is that fishing ships cost -15%. Now normally they cost 75 wood, so I think 15% off of that might be six might be like 63 wood or something, 64 wood. 64 sounds about right. I'm not sure, but I think it's somewhere in the 60s range. But that's it's not much, but it is definitely helpful. Uh, you get more of them out. You get a better fish economy, especially on a map like Nomad, which is both land and water. So that's that's a pretty good bonus. So then gunpowder units cost minus 20%. Similar thing. So all four of the bonuses actually involve discounts, which is very interesting. Uh, so so the next so yeah, so gunpowder units cost minus 20%, so that applies to the hand cannoneer, the bombard cannon. This one actually does apply to bombard cannons, so they actually get cheaper bombard cannons and not the Koreans. And then it also applies to cannon galleons. Um, and bombard towers too. I think bombard towers are also cheaper. So that's you get more of them out. They're pretty powerful. So the Italians are a good gunpowder civilization for sure. So then you have the unique units, or sorry, there are team bonuses that the condottiero is available in the barracks in the Imperial Age. But I'll talk about the condottiero in a minute. So the Genoese crossbowman is Italian unique archer, strong versus cavalry and infantry, weak versus archers and siege weapons. Now, normally archers aren't strong against cavalry, but the reason this archer is strong against cavalry is because it has a direct bonus. Now, it's just strong against infantry because archers tend to be strong against infantry because their range and infantry are relatively slow. So, now they're weak versus other archers. I guess because they don't have any pierce armor whatsoever. They do have one melee armor, which is pretty interesting. They only have 4 range. The elite one has also 4 range. Uh, they have the same attack. On the elite one only has 5 more HP. But the big draw of the imperial of the elite upgrade is that they attack faster than the regular Genoese crossbowmen, which attacks slower than a regular crossbowman. But the elite Genoese crossbowman attacks at the same rate as a crossbowman. So it actually increases their attack output by quite a bit, and makes them actually pretty good against cavalry in general. Um, Now they don't have halberdiers because it's meant to prioritize their um, Genoese crossbowmen. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. So then the other unique unit is the condottiero. Fast anti-gunpowder infantry, strong versus gunpowder units, weak versus cavalry and archers, trainable by Italians and their allies. So, yeah, condottieri, uh, they are strong. They have a bonus against any gunpowder units, which is very good against civilizations like the Turks, the Hindustanis, the Spanish, and yes, the Koreans. Civilizations with good gunpowder. So this is not a good thing for the Koreans in this matchup because the Italians have a unit that directly counters one of the Korean strongest units, which is the hand cannoneer. So that's pretty good for the Italians against the Koreans. And since it is trainable by the Italian allies, that's not applicable in this case, but it is helpful if you're the Italians or you're allied with the Italians, you get this extra infantry unit that is pretty good for raids because it's fast, but it's also really good if there are a lot of gunpowder units attacking your base, especially since they don't take any anti-infantry gunpowder uh, and anti-infantry bonus damage from hand cannoneers at all. They don't take any of it, so that's especially helpful for the Italians. And yes, so that's basically them. Basically the condottieri in a nutshell. So then the unique techs are, where is it? Yeah, there you go. Pavis, which is foot archers and condottieri have +1/+1 pierce armor. Well, +1 armor, +1 pierce armor. Now, the Pavis was traditionally a shield used by uh, Genoese crossbowmen, as you can see in this icon. So I'm not entirely sure why it applies to the condottieri, but I think it also applies to the. It does apply to the Genoese crossbowmen, but not skirmishers. So that's important to keep in mind. So basically, it means that your archers are just gonna be a bit more tanky. That's basically all it means. It's pretty good, pretty good technology, I must say. But yeah, that's basically what it means. Uh, and then their other unique technology is Silk Road, which is where trade units cost -50%. Um, that's not applicable in this case at all. But basically, if you're allied with somebody and you're running out of gold in the late game, which is a very common occurrence, especially in long games with multiple players, uh, you're gonna want to put down some trade cards and trade cogs. But if you're on the water, but that is pretty expensive, and you may not get the best upfront investment at first because the gold you get from the trade cards will only, at first will only help to refund the trade cards. So if they cost 50% less, then you can start making profit a lot sooner. So it's completely useless in a 1v1 game like this, but in a team game it is actually very useful. It doesn't apply to allies, but it does make trade for you a lot easier, and that's important. Anyway, so I've already been going on long enough. I really need to learn how to be concise. So, very interesting thing about Nomad here is that you get a treaty land. You get like a treaty, so you can't build in each, in this area around the town center, until your own town centers are complete. So I'm just going to skip forward here. Even though it is a kind of unique map, I still want to make sure to skip over a lot of it. So they're building they're building town center directly on the forge bush, and they're not doing that. Their forge bush is all the way over there. So now both town centers are up, so the treaty's over. So this is a pretty interesting map, I must say. And since both civilizations good are good naval civilizations, they have an advantage on this map. So now they're lowering a boar. Yeah, so that's what they're doing. We have a mill from Admiral Yi Sun Shin, and they have a lumber camp straddling these two wood lines, which is actually very cool. This is Maurizio Galbeo. I probably totally butchered that. They also have a mill directly on the forage bush, mind you, instead of just kind of far away. But that's alright in this case because they already have a town center next to these forage bushes. So, yeah. Enemy. Yeah, okay, so what can they see? Yeah, they see the enemy, so. Alright, so I think they're trying to wall using buildings, which is something that the AI knows how to do, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so what's going on here? Okay, now they're on their way to the feudal age, so I'm going to slow down. They're starting to collect from gold, so that's going to be helpful for... Oh, they just completed a dock. So I think they're probably going to try to go on this fish here. They're probably going to try collecting this fish. The Italians have not collected... they've not built a dock yet. I don't know if they even see the water. They might not. How much do they see? Yeah, they don't even see the water at all, so they don't have a dock built yet. They do. I stand corrected. They do have a dock. It's just really far away from their base because they don't have explored. But it's actually a lot closer to the Koreans' base than it is to theirs. So they might be able to do some real damage if the Koreans end up building all the way over here. But they might not be able, they might not do that. So they're building a barracks. What are they doing? What are they doing? What are you doing? You're gonna have so much wasted time. You should have you should have either lowered the bore like you did before, or build a mill. You're wasting so much walking time doing that. So now, okay, so now they're both in the feudal age. So what are we gonna see? All right, we have an archer range and a blacksmith. So, all right. So what? Holy, they're actually really close. They also have a blacksmith. So this is the kind of nomad gameplay I like, where the enemies are just really close to each other, or the civilizations, the players are just really close to each other, and it causes them to get in some very interesting uh, fights. Yeah. So I'm actually thinking of doing my own Extreme AI matchup spinoff. Um, Taking place entirely on Nomad maps. So like Land Nomad, Nomad, Water Nomad, maybe even uh, the real world map Bohemia, but probably not. Probably just those three. If there are any, I think there are other. I think there are other Nomad maps, so I'll have to try to find them to see what I can do. But anyway, so they are on their way to the Castle Age. So they're collecting from an ibex. Uh, that looked like hose to me. Uh, I read it as hose because the text is very small. But they're collecting from an ibex, so they currently have no fishing economy whatsoever, which is a very bad move. They have this fish right here, and the Italians don't have a fishing economy either. I don't know if they're gonna try to fix that. I hope so, because they do have those cheaper fishing ships. So they're also on their way to the Castle Age. So we could see some pretty interesting stuff from either player very soon because they are very close to each other. And are trying the Koreans are trying to wall off their base using buildings. They add another TC here. Very interesting. That could easily defend this part of the wall here if they need to. So they do have an archer range, but they're not producing anything out of it. So far, they're not really doing much of anything, to be honest. Um, so they're currently researching wheelbarrow. The Italians are almost to the Castle Age, so that's what's going on. Ooh, oh hello. They're trying to build a gate here. Do they see? They don't see. They don't see the enemy at all. What? They're just like a couple tiles away from not seeing this. That's crazy. What? They, that's why they're not being aggressive. They have no idea. They're so close. I mean, they see the town center, but they don't know they're close to anything else. That's so crazy. I didn't realize. That's so cool. Anyway, so okay, so now the Koreans are adding another town center. Okay, so Yeah, so another town center on the stone. And again, they do get the faster stone collection, so that's a good idea. That gate looks a little funny. Yeah, so not much is happening currently. Oh, the Italians. Okay, so they do see this gate. The Koreans they see all this. They know they're here. They don't they haven't explored this currently though. But so what do the Italians see? They still don't really know. Okay, so now they see that blacksmith because of this gate, presumably. So they might want to attack. I don't know. They're still not going for anything at all. Nobody's going for anything, which is very peculiar. Are they just going to be very aggressive at the end and just completely ignore each other for most of the game? It definitely seems like that's the direction it's going. Very nice monster. I like the Asian monastery. Okay, so now he's adding a couple monks. Uh, does he see any relics? He does. He doesn't see any. He sees a relic over there. Is he gonna be crazy enough to try to go for it? I, I think he's gonna try to go for the relic. What? That's that's suicide. But actually, it might not be because the Italians are basically ignoring them anyway. They're ignoring each other, so I guess it wouldn't really be suicide. Adding another archer range now, so I just want to see this monk to see where he goes. Because this is pretty crazy. Is there another relic somewhere on the map that I'm not seeing? Okay, yeah, he's definitely trying to go for this relic. And it does look like he's gonna get it, so that's interesting. Huh. So they're starting to go for shorefish. Um, Now they're adding fishing ships. Where? Yeah, there they are. Now they're starting to add fishing ships, but nobody's really doing much of anything at all, which is really weird because it's like half an hour into the game. You'd think we'd see some more aggression, but we don't see any aggression at all. Both players are just mutually ignoring each other, which is very strange, I must say. Um, have been recording for almost 40 minutes. Uh, there's really not much happening, to be honest. I don't know. This is so weird. They're just ignoring each other. I don't know why that is. What the? I just got an attack notification. Oh, whoa! Villager fighting! Villager fighting! Okay, now the Italians are actually trying to fight back. I think she's gonna get converted though. Yeah, she gets converted. Oh! 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 Whoa! 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 Ah! This is hilarious. These village. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the villagers. They have the mod. I unlocked it in a challenge today, so the villagers have boxing gloves instead of the daggers. So that's pretty hilarious. You just see them beating up an old man using their fists. So that's pretty funny. That's why it looked kind of janky because I forgot to turn the mod off, but that's okay because it's actually pretty funny. Looks like we're not gonna see much in the way of a siege workshop. Okay, so they're still not going for any military at all, which is pretty strange. They are adding another monastery though, which is also pretty strange, but whatever, you do you. Uh, I don't understand. Somebody was just somebody. A monk just tried to convert a unit, but I didn't see where it was. So what's gonna try to go on here? What's gonna happen? The suspense is killing me. I don't know. This fishing ship just come. It's a castle. What? And I don't have the doubt. The doubt. It's been a new patch that they don't have. I don't have the doubt face castle foundation mod on anymore, which is kind of unfortunate. But I can always turn it on later because I think it's pretty funny. But so now we're actually gonna see a. Oh, okay. This guy was gonna try to deny this castle. Okay, now the Koreans are on the way to the Imperial Age. They don't have murder holes, so the scout is just free to attack this castle, but it's not gonna do much damage. But this stable is literally right next to this castle, so the scouts are probably not gonna be able, unless they do that. It's gonna be very hard to kill them. Oh, they have Genoese crossbowmen though, so they're actually trying to create Genoese crossbowmen in defense against these cavalry, which is actually a good idea because they actually have a bonus against the cavalry. So this is a very interesting interaction. So now actually things are starting to heat up now. 34 minutes into the game. So now they're building a market. Not sure why, but okay. So the Koreans just haven't taken the hint yet. Oh, hello. Okay. Oh, Genoese crossbowmen are now trying to go on the offensive, and these villagers are kind of spazzing out. Oh, oh, that Genoese crossbowman got converted and then immediately died after. Then died immediately afterward from the mangonel. How disappointing. I feel like that could be symbolic of something. Oh, they have like no wood. Okay, so the Italians have another castle. Are we gonna see a castle from the Koreans here? This is this is a very strange game, I have to say. And small trees isn't on anymore because, well, it's a new patch, so all the mods get disabled after each patch. It's pretty annoying, but I think hopefully you can see just fine without it. So now these mangonels are going on the offensive. Now the thing is, the Italians are in the Imperial Age, so they do have access to the Condottiero, which could easily take out these mangonels. All right, so what's going on here? Oh, hello. I hear a castle somewhere. I don't know. No, it's not the castle. It's the town center. I get to see the villagers again. They're boxing. Those villagers are boxing. And the mangonel does go down. That's pretty funny. That's actually pretty funny. That's, I have to keep this mod up because that's just hilarious. Oh, I think that. Oh, more and more. They're getting more and more conversions here. Okay, so. Yeah, so that battering ram will go down, unfortunately. Okay, so now this whole area here seems to be the main focus of the attention here. So, oh, that monk's gonna go down. Yeah, okay, there we go. Currently a lot of stuff happening. So the skirmishers are having to defend against these Genoese crossbowmen. So we are gonna get to see Genoese crossbowmen action in this episode, which is pretty cool. Because they're a pretty cool, unique unit in my opinion. They hold up very well against cavalry, which you normally wouldn't be able to say about archers. Oh, they have a castle too. Where's their castle? There it is. Oh, we get to see war wagons. Okay, so I thought this was going to be a boring episode, but it's turning out to be one of the most interesting ones. Well, that's Nomad for you. So, so we're going to get to see these very population efficient war wagons, although the Genoese crossbowmen do have a bonus against them because they are cavalry. So that's pretty unfortunate, but they're still going to be pretty good. Alright, so they're actually pretty skirmisher resistant too, so it's pretty hard to take them down using most forms of archers. Yeah, okay, so I don't see how this could go badly for the Koreans. They seem to be pushing forward pretty well. So I think all these villagers are going to go down. But these Genoese crossbowmen are able to take out these war wagons just because they have a bonus. But the skirmishers are also pretty good, so they might be able to take out the Genoese crossbowmen. So, and then these onagers are taking out the buildings. Yeah, so what building is that? Oh, that's a university, yeah. So I'm not sure what they're going for. They're going for cannon galleon. Huh. I'm not sure why. They're they are building a navy, but it's not gonna do much. It's pretty laggy, probably thanks to the lack of small trees. But this is a pretty interesting game overall. But let's see. Where are these skirmishers being made? Okay, so skirmisher here, yeah. So it's actually pretty interesting. Okay, these holy cow. It's a lot of lag here. Should have remembered to turn on small trees before recording this, but oh well. Anyway, so this is a mess. Villagers are getting in the way of everything. There's no Geneva Convention for several hundred more years, so yeah, so that's kind of unfortunate. So that Genoese crossbowman goes down, so come on, repair it. Oh man. Alright, so that light cavalry does go down though, so yikes. Okay, so this is a very chaotic game. Holy cow. There's a university. Okay, so I think that was just yeah, so they converted a skirmisher, so yikes. Okay, so Genoese crossbowmen seem to actually be doing quite a bit of damage here, so there is another castle here though, so they won't be able to go too far. Now the problem is that the Koreans are not really going with any kind of anti-cavalry option. They're mainly going for archers, so like they can go for skirmishers, but the problem is skirmishers easily get cleaned up by cavalry. So what they need to do is they do have halberdier. So they need to go for halberdier if they want to be able to take care of these light cavalry units. We get to see some more boxing villagers. Oh man, they died though. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Hmm. Yeah, so I think this battle ram's gonna take down the castle or town center. They do have more town centers though. They have actually several town centers, so they're pretty good in terms of town centers for right now. But this is definitely, I think this was like their main town center, so definitely not great. Maybe this one was their main town center, but this is like their secondary town center, so there's a lot of farms here, so you're gonna lose a lot of food income here. Holy cow. They're forced to flee to this castle, which is now gonna start shooting at the Genoese crossbowmen. But that battering ram is not gonna take much damage at all, so unless they send the villagers to punch these battering rams to death, they're probably gonna stay alive and be able to take down the castles. Although it's currently taking like 10, it's taking 10 damage every single volley. So okay, now they're starting to create some cavalry of their own. Wait a minute, huh? He just resigned all of a sudden. Um, that's very surprising. I was not expecting that. So he does resign. Probably because he lost all of this farm income and this town center is going to go down. So he did lose a lot. He had a lot still, but I think the fact that like the bulk of his farm income was no longer secure, I think that probably sealed the deal. So you can see most of this most of this little island here is controlled by Italy. So uh, just call it New Sicily or something. I don't know, but uh, yeah. So the point is, the Koreans they lost. They had to resign. Uh, if they had gone more for a halberdier and if they gone more for a halberdier and um, skirmisher combo mixed in with war wagons, they probably would have done just fine. And then if they had archers, they could also use those to clean up the archers because archers are pretty good. Pretty archers are pretty weak against archers, so they could have easily used that combination to clean up their units, but they didn't do any early aggression at all. They should have taken advantage of the fact that the Italians just would have left them alone. I wouldn't be that charitable if I was in their position. So there was a lot of things they could have done to avoid losing that game, and they took none of them. So that's pretty unfortunate. So they end up losing, and in terms of yeah, they had the biggest score except for the military and technology. So units killed 290 versus units lost 252. They actually killed the most the Italians killed the most units, and they lost the lost the fewest units, which is obviously that makes sense. But the Koreans raised the most buildings. Then they're tied with the Italians for losing the fewest buildings at 7. They converted the most units at 11, but their army was very very small in comparison to the Italians' army, which was 91 versus 35. So they didn't have a military chance at all. And again, all of those discounts that the Italians get probably just put them over the top. Uh, they had the most collected on all 4 resources. The Italians did, so they were the first of the Imperial Age, but the Koreans were the first of the Feudal Age, Castle Age. Koreans explored 99% of the map. Research count 32 versus 31, so basically the same. So, yes. So, very, very, very strange game, for sure. Like, half of it was, like, nothing, and then all of a sudden, boom, have a lot of combat. And this made it a very, very unusual episode, and I hope you enjoy this episode. It's a bit shorter than the ones I've done in the past, but uh, maybe not that much shorter. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I guess I'll see you in the next one, whatever that one is. And I hope you enjoy it. So uh, have a good day, and peace.